Understand that everything prehistory or pre-dynasty that predates this anti-natural social structure that rules the world today is called uncivilized. And they want to convince you that everything prior to male rulers was stupid humans who, didn't have toilet paper because they were so dumb and all of this old crazy crap. And I'm going to be proving in this series of videos that that's baloney, that we are the dumbed down humans, and that the far back we go, we see a more intelligent, more advanced human that was more in a natural state. So this is the planet of the ape theory, this whole timeline of evolution. And we're going to be cracking the cosmic code as we move forward. So again, they want us to believe everything during this golden age, when we were in our natural state, is considered uncivilized. But you have to keep in mind that the word civilized to them is really the word tamed. So all of the wars that was taking place during this transitioning phase of pre-dynasty to the rule of dynasties, because of course there were wars, people. It tell you that when you read about the unification of Kemet, which we're going to get into. This whole world structure that we're in today started as a result of war and bloodshed. Even your religious accounts tell you that. But they don't tell you what's before this, and that's the great deception. So in the beginning, whose beginning? Let's move forward. The wars that was taking place prior to this was gender wars, and I told you we'll get deep into those gender wars in a minute. But there were wars that took place for us to transition from pre-dynastic to dynastic. No one just willingly said, I want someone to rule over me. They ruling over you because they won the war, and now the patriarchs are in power. When the people rule over the earth, the matriarchs ruled. And they didn't rule over anyone. It was the laws of nature and what's called heavenly matrimony and all of that. We're going to get deep into that. We went over the evolution timeline deception, how they hid all of this golden age history, or should I say her story, behind his story. And when we talk about his, we're talking about Normer, which was the first sun god. And that's the god that everyone's worshiping today. We're going to get into that. There's so much to tackle, so we got to stay on subject, but we're going to get into all of these things throughout the series in detail. Let's finish the evolution timeline deception and wrap up the difference between pre-dynasty versus dynastic time, what we're in today. This dynastic time is known as the New World Order, the beginning of male rulers, as I stated. Before we were civilized, we were uncivilized, or what's called untamed. In other words, we were wild humans. And that's something you want to keep in mind, because everything in its wild state is in its natural state, but humans aren't. So when we were untamed, we were free of government rule and we were in our natural state. So untamed is unchained, and something that is wild is free. And you can look at that on many levels, because a wild animal is free of the suffering of a animal that may be bred in a slaughterhouse or on a zoo or domesticated in the house in its unnatural state. Also, when you look at plants that are wild, they are free. They are not ruled over by man, and they get to grow wild and generate as they will. But on another level, when we talk about wild and free, things in the wild is free to those who exist in the wild. So when you go off the grid and you live off the earth, everything is free for you. You don't pay no more bills. You don't work for nobody. You just live by the work of your own labor, of that connection you have with the earth, and she provides for you. We're not in our natural state. So we are in a fallen state, so to speak, but it's not because what was taught to us in the book of Genesis. It's not because a woman bit an apple. How we left the Garden of Eden to today's man-ruled world where you got to work every day, this slave system, has a lot to do with the changing of humans' diet. So the Bible tell you we were vegans, and after that we became to be meat eaters. So all of these changes of ages and transitions of human consciousness are synonymous with changes of the way we eat and interact with nature. And we didn't get to this fallen state by women biting an apple or biting fruit. We got to this fallen state by men hunting the animals. Everything on earth was vegan until the first couple of male hunting cults broke the first natural laws, which is live and let live. We have a symbiotic relationship with the plants, and we're supposed to eat the plants. If we don't eat the plants don't reproduce. This is why the flowers attract the bees to them. The apple tree have a scent. The orange tree have a citrus smell. And that's a perfume fragrance of nature seducing you, saying, come get you one of these oranges off of here. An orange is not running away from you. An animal is, and it's crying. It's trying to get away. Nature is telling you the rules of how to live here. It wants you to eat the fruit and spit the seed out. How I know? Because if you ever ate an apple, the apple is delicious, but try biting into the seed. It's bitter. You automatically spit it out. Nature is smart. It's programmed to make you do what you need to do so that everything reproduces. We're supposed to be on plant-based diets, spitting out our seeds on the ground so that the fruit can reproduce. But since we left the Garden of Eden, or we left these plant-based societies, all of the plants today are GMO. They're created basically in factories. They're not even created natural anymore, because the natural process would be humans walking around grazing upon the trees like the cows and the herds of animals and defecating and dropping the seeds on the ground. That's fertilizing. You know, when you swallow a seed and you poop, that's fertilizing and it's growing more seeds. So it's a symbiotic relationship and a duty that we have, a relationship we have with the plants. Everything was vegan prior to the first male hunting cults messing up the ecosystem, which is very fragile. The earth we live in is fragile. The first hunters that hunted the first wildlife set off a chain reaction. And now we live in a predator-prey world today. Once you start hunting one species, not even two or three, we can just use one. If you just start hunting up one species, that one species is responsible for a plant. Every species is bonded to a certain family of plants that it's able to digest to help that plant family reproduce. So certain animals eat certain plants we don't eat, and we eat certain plants they don't eat, and sometimes we eat the same. But this symbiotic relationship is necessary for reproduction. The humans have this marriage with the plants. When we started hunting the animals, that messed up the natural system, and the animals that we made go extinct, certain plants went extinct with them because those animals were responsible for helping those particular plants reproduce. So for example, if all the bees go extinct, there will be a lot of different flowers associated with nectar and honey that will go extinct because they need those bees to help them reproduce. So if you take away one thing, there's like a domino effect of everything falling.